Hey, welcome to Watson's Models. I'm back with a much shorter video tonight. I was getting feedback from yesterday's post, which, this is a 42-minute long deal on the Hobby Boss here compared to the Andy's Hobby Headquarters Tigers, the Tiger 1. And I have lots of Tiger kits, okay? I've got like 2 more on the way from Andy's, or TACCOM's doing like a 2-pack deal. This was part of a 3 deal here, including figures. But lots of different scales, and I'm sure you guys got plenty more Tiger variants and versions in your stash. But I've always loved this Tiger tank when I, growing up. I don't know what it is about German armor, but when I was 16 years old, 15 years old, getting into the hobby, I just thought, man, the Germans had some cool looking equipment. It just looked mean and like it had purpose and design. It was sexy, and not because of anything other than the fact that the stuff looked cool. It had neat angles and all that kind of stuff. And it was sort of a mysterious aura over all of it, right? But we all were into that stuff. Now, I'm being older, I'm more into getting some variety here, right? I want to see some more American stuff. That's why I appreciate Andy's pushing for some U.S. vehicles in that scale, in the 1/16 scale stuff. So, anyways, what I have sitting here is a 1/25th scale Tamiya Tiger 1. And this is the actual tank that I built when I was 16. Hang on a second here. Yeah, I was roughly 16 years old. I'm 56 now, so 40 years. This thing came out. This particular kit, I believe, came out in the 80s. And is there actually a date on that? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyhow, my mom kept this thing. Let me set the camera down. This kit was originally, look at that, it almost ran over the dude. All right, the tracks are still working. And this was my very first big purchase, right? This Tamiya 1/25th scale tank, and for some reason she kept it. I joined the army, I went away, she packed up my stuff, and she thought well enough to keep it and stick it in a box, and so it's got a lot of dust on it. But anyhow, when I got it back from her, it was still complete. And at one point in time in my life, I started having children's, and my oldest boy, Mikey, got a hold of this thing and thought it was a toy that he could push around and have fun with. And I came home from work and I saw this thing sitting there, and it was in pieces. And you can tell he tried to put it back together the best he could, but he got caught. And so, yeah, it got beat up pretty bad, and it's missing stuff. I mean, I just took the turret and stuff apart to show you where my skill level was at the time. Now, this was this kit originally came out in 1969, believe it or not. And it is, I was born in 67. So a couple years after I was born, it was produced by Tamiya and released. And then it had an interesting box cover. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Tiger had a camouflage pattern on it. I'd have to look at the historical photos. And then they came out with a new box art, which actually had this Tiger on it, right? It's the same image, different, they did a couple different things, a little yellow tiger guy up here and all that stuff. This box, this kit is actually from 1987. I think it was 87. Let's see here. Let me look at the faded instructions here. And boy, does this bring back memories. Yeah, 1987. And it's still in its cellophane condition. So it came German gray, and I built this kit too as a kid. And I was just, you know, man, I thought I was crapping in tall cotton when I got my first Tiger tank. And, you know, the Tamiya Tigers, all the Tamiya tanks back then had sort of the ability to try to motorize them. I don't know where they would go, but I suppose you could creep them along. And but you know, this was early stuff. So the kit was in the 80s at some point in time. So I'm estimating 1983-ish for this one because of my age and all that kind of stuff. And it had this box art on it. So I got the new release of that kit, and then I think in sometime in the 90s, mid 90s or whatever, re-released, you know, same box art, and then again in I believe the 2000 time frame, we saw the same box art again, but the kit is still out there. So I had this total love for Tiger tanks. Now, I'm not a historian, and I can't tell you all the variants and the versions and all that kind of stuff, but this is how I started. This was my first airbrush project, you know. Borrowed my friend's airbrush and was able to do a, you know, my own camouflage pattern on it. You'll notice that I sort of semi-finished the road wheels on that side, and in lazy Mike Watson fashion, never finished the other side because I thought, yeah, no one's going to see that. It's going to be displayed like this. So, funny. But I didn't know anything about prep work, surface prep for the paint and all that kind of stuff. And when I move the camera around, you'll see what I'm talking about when you look in here. But, yeah, the hatches I still work. I mean, one of the hatches is busted, but here's my paint quality back then. It sucks, okay? Because I was just learning, and crap falling off all over the place. Even my little tank guys. All right, who's guilty of having googly eyes? Got googly eyes. All right. So yeah, it's just nostalgic, and to still have it to this day is pretty awesome. I'm just going to put things kind of back together the way that it was and leave it at that. But this was 100% put together with tester's glue that came in a tube, and you guys know how icky that can be. I didn't know anything about washing mold release oils or agents off of plastic in those days, so paint didn't stick very well. And that's that. All right, feedback. I got some feedback from some folks on my video yesterday, and one gentleman, was being totally honest, he's like, look, dude, I started getting annoyed after 6 minutes of watching the video. And I'm like, cool, thank you. Tell me why, because, you know, if I need to improve or do something different, I'm going to change a little bit. But then I had another gentleman who's in his 60s who said, you know, I'm 60, I can't remember if he told me he had arthritis, or, you know, he didn't have what he needed to be able to build models again. And it could be a dexterity thing, it could be pain, it could be whatever. And so the way that he enjoys the hobby is watching other people's videos on the hobby. And I thought, wow, you know, that I can't imagine how it would feel to get to a point to where I couldn't put something together again. And I got kind of emotional when I read that one, and I appreciated the feedback. And so it's important that I try and do something that's worthy of watching. So to that gentleman that took the time to write me, God bless you, man, and hang in there. And I hope you can still get some enjoyment and fulfillment out of this stuff, and we'll try to do you proud. But yeah, I appreciate the feedback. So, and I do recognize it was long, and I'm still droning on right now, aren't I? I can't help it. Let me turn the camera on and show you what I did here. All right. When you're a young man and the only money you have coming in is from your paper route, because I worked the paper routes, and you know my income was limited. So when I was able to save enough money to buy this kit, you know, this was a huge expense back in those days. These kits weren't cheap, and you know, Tamiya was like the gold standard, and still is in many respects. But you can see where I did not paint the bottom, and I was like, you know what? I was in a rush. I was lazy. Never did the inside of the road wheels here like I should have. You know, look at the exposed screws. I'm sure we're going to find all kinds of mold lines and stuff on parts. But this is where I was when I was 16. Mentioned these tracks yesterday. These tracks kind of snap together. They're sort of flexible. And the odd thing is, after 40 years, they still are. Same thing with the air pipes here. The rubber is still flexible and not dry rotted, which really surprises the hell out of me. So good on Tamiya for getting some quality rubber hoses. Yeah, I mean, just look at the, you know, I didn't have a clue, but I was learning. So on the inside here, you know, I have this was the engine compartment, and what a horrible job I did. It almost looks like a satellite in space. Here, you can see where age has taken its toll, and the paint just flakes right off the torsion bars. And I think we still have flexibility, which is kind of cool. Interior, yeah, try painting white with a paintbrush. Not a good choice. But you know, this was a guy who was a beginner, and it is what it is. So the fact that it survived this many years just blows me away. Oh my goodness. In fact, you know, I should find this kit again and build it to the way that I know how now, and have a comparison video of that. Turret. So, you know, this came with a complete interior, and, you know, I was using Tester's paint. I was using a little bit of Tamiya because I was just getting introduced to Tamiya paints. I had Humbrol paint, which was in here, but I'm shocked that all the hatches are still operational. That's cool, you know. I wasn't horrible for 16, but decals chipped. And then here's these guys. Look at their googly eyes. All right. Yep. Those were the days. And here's the top deck. And of course, the hinge mechanism for the other one's missing, but I tell you what, man, white, that was difficult to paint back those days. I just could not get it right. So that is what survived in 40 years. And I'm so glad I have it. Now, I got a lot of other tire tanks that I got to work on. But the quality of these tanks have gotten so much better over the years. And, you know, what's interesting is you can take this one here, for instance, which is a 48 scale Tiger. Teeny tiny tank, in my opinion, with a full, complete interior. And, man, is it detailed. Then we got some of these TACOM kits. This is Auto Carius limited edition set, and this came with the grouping that Andy's was selling. There was 3 tanks. This one, this mid production, okay, with Zimrit, and late production. And he's got a couple more coming out with Whitman. So yeah. So thank you for indulging me. Thank you for watching the videos, and thank you for your feedback. It's important. And to all you guys out there that are like over 50 and you're in my boat, just hang on tight, fellas. You know what I'm saying? Don't give up. Do what you can when you can, and stay connected to the hobby. And I visit lots of people's sites and stuff, and YouTube channels, and man, we got some talented people out there. So you all inspire me to try to be better at what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to keep chipping away at it. Have a good night. Thanks for watching, and get out there and build something.